Welcome back, my fearless fiends, to Curtis's Corner, the place where nightmares are born and the shadows know your name. Tonight, we are continuing our twisted journey into the depths of horror with the fifth and final part of our spine-chilling series. And trust me, if you thought you'd seen it all, think again. We are plunging straight into the nightmare realm of 2013 to 2023, where horror didn't just evolve. It transformed into something far more insidious. Something that crawls under your skin and stays there long after the credits roll. This era isn't just about being scared, it's about being changed. Haunted by what you've seen, unsure if the horrors are real or just a dark reflection of the world around us. From the supernatural entities that trap you in your own home to blood-soaked clowns who've twisted joy into terror, this decade took the genre to places we didn't think we'd go. Think demonic hauntings that'll make you question your own sanity. Killers who love to play with their victims, whether you're trapped in your living room or staring into your own reflection. And nightmares that feel all too real. You think you're safe? Oh no. In this new age of horror, terror isn't just found in the dark corners of the world. It's found inside your mind. This period wasn't just about gore and jump scares. No. It was about subverting everything you thought that you knew. We saw horror return to its roots with terrifying real-world implications. Films that bled into reality itself, where the monsters weren't just characters on the screen, but reflections of something far more sinister. And don't even get me started on the unthinkable. Who could have predicted the rise of a certain bloodthirsty bear, or the haunting wave of evil that followed in the footsteps of a famous haunted house, leaving us breathless and on edge? So grab your popcorn, but keep an eye on the door, because part 5 is going to drag you through the most twisted, gut-wrenching horrors of the last decade. You won't just watch these films, they'll follow you. Before we dive into the madness though, make sure that you are ready for what's next. Hit that like button if you dare, subscribe for your weekly dose of fear, and ring that notification bell. And trust me, you'll want to be the first to know when the next nightmare arrives. And if you're brave enough to join the darkness early, check out my Patreon for exclusive access and content that will chill you to the bone. All right, let's stop wasting time. It is time to step into part 5, the terrifying world of 2013 to 2023, where horror bled into reality and the rules are gone. Are you ready? Let's get truly spooky. The Conjuring from 2013 redefined modern supernatural horror by grounding its chilling tale in real-life events involving paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren. This connection to true events added an unsettling layer of authenticity, drawing audiences into a world where the supernatural feels all too real. The film's success wasn't just about jump scares. It was about building tension through atmosphere, clever cinematography, and sound design, crafting an unnervingly suspenseful experience that lingered far beyond the screen. James Wan's direction focused on slow-burning dread rather than quick thrills, setting The Conjuring apart from other horror films. The film's eerie, quiet moments, combined with long, haunting shots, let the terror seep into the viewer's subconscious, making each small detail feel like a threat. It was a perfect storm of tension, dread, and relatable characters. The Warrens became more than investigators, they were the audience's emotional anchors, humanizing the supernatural chaos around them. The film also sparked a revival of classic supernatural horror, from haunted houses to demonic possession. With The Conjuring leading the way, a wave of ghost stories and possession-themed films surged in the 2010s. The success of Annabelle, The Nun, and The Curse of La Llorona established the Conjuring universe, a connected series that proved there was serious mileage in terrifying supernatural storytelling. The Conjuring's influence rippled across the genre. Films like The Nun from 2018, Annabelle Creation from 2017, and The Curse of La Llorona from 2019 embraced similar haunting, possession, possession, and demonic themes, continuing the franchise's legacy. Other films such as The Nightingale from 2018 and The Autopsy of Jane Doe from 2016 also drew from the slow-building supernatural tension that The Conjuring perfected. Television series, including The Haunting of Hill House from 2018, adopted similar atmospheric tension and ghostly encounters, further proof of The Conjuring's role in reshaping the supernatural horror landscape. Now, this wave of films and series brought back the haunted house genre and supernatural investigations, offering chilling atmospheres and slow burn horror. The Conjuring didn't just scare, it set the stage for a resurgence in atmospheric horror that continues to dominate modern supernatural storytelling. The Purge from 2013 became influential for its bold, high-concept premise and its exploration of social and political themes through a lens of horror and thriller. The film centers on a dystopian America where, once a year, all crimes, including murder, are legal for 12 hours. The shocking premise, blending social commentary with violent survival horror, struck a chord with audiences and introduced a unique take on the genre. It raised questions about human nature, morality, class, and the breakdown of society, all while delivering tense, gripping moments that kept viewers on edge. The concept of the Purge, a society that sanctions violence as a form of social control, resonated because it tapped into deep-rooted fears of lawlessness, chaos, and unchecked power, kind of like what's happening in the States right now. Sorry. The film's social critique was wrapped in a violent thriller, making it both a provocative commentary on societal issues and an exciting, suspense-filled ride. Its low budget and simple setup, which was a home invasion thriller during the Purge night, proved that films with high concept premises don't need massive budgets to succeed. Now, beyond the film's immediate success, The Purge sparked an entire franchise. It led to a series of sequels, including The Purge Anarchy in 2014, The Purge Election Year 2016, The First Purge from 2018, and The Forever Purge from 2021, each expanding on the central idea while exploring different facets of the Purge's society. These films built a cinematic universe blending horror, action, and political commentary, making The Purge a lasting presence in modern genre filmmaking. The influence of The Purge extends beyond its own franchise. The idea of exploring a society on the brink of collapse where violence is normalized inspired a wave of films and television series. Movies like Battle Royale from 2000 and The Hunger Games from 2012 had already explored themes of dystopia and social breakdown, but The Purge helped reframe this type of narrative in a more grounded, near-future context, where the social collapse isn't caused by a totalitarian regime, but a government-sanctioned ritual. Films like The Belko Experiment in 2016 and The Green Room from 2015 also explored similar themes of violence and survival under extreme circumstances. Now, the Purge television series from 2018 adapted the concept for the small screen, expanding the story's world and deepening its social commentary, showing the cultural impact of the original film. More generally, The Purge helped solidify the trend of blending social and political commentary with genre elements, a formula that many filmmakers have adopted in recent years, with stories that explore dystopian futures, moral ambiguity, and the effects of societal collapse. The film's influence can be seen in a variety of horror and thriller films that combine violence with deep social critique, leading to a new subgenre of politically charged horror. The Babadook from 2015 became a groundbreaking force in the horror genre due to its masterful blending of psychological terror and supernatural horror, redefining what horror films could achieve. Directed by Jennifer Kent, the film isn't just about a spooky monster. It's a deeply emotional, metaphorical exploration of grief, trauma, and motherhood. The Babadook itself, a dark, shadowy figure from a children's book, symbolizes the protagonist's repressed sorrow and unresolved trauma. By using horror as a vehicle to explore psychological depth, The Babadook elevated the genre, showing that horror could be a profound medium for emotional and intellectual exploration, not just visceral scares. The film's unsettling atmosphere, disturbing imagery, and quiet, creeping tension left a lasting impact on horror. It's known for its slow burn style, where the terror isn't thrust upon the audience quickly, but rather builds gradually, drawing viewers into a disorienting emotional journey. The Babadook's haunting presence plays on fears of motherhood motherhood, loss, and the emotional aftermath of trauma, which resonated deeply with audiences, elevating it beyond traditional horror fare into something more thought-provoking. This emphasis on psychological depth within horror paved the way for films that balance supernatural elements with real-world emotional struggles. One of the most influential aspects of The Babadook was its ability to use horror as an allegory for mental health and grief, opening up new avenues for genre filmmakers. It inspired a wave of films that similarly blended the supernatural with deep emotional or psychological themes. One of the most notable is Hereditary from 2018, directed by Ari Aster. Now, like The Babadook, Hereditary focuses on grief, family trauma, and the horror that arises from unresolved emotional pain. Both films use supernatural elements as metaphors for deeper psychological struggles, with Hereditary employing a chilling sense of inevitability as a family unravels under the weight of hidden secrets. The Babadook also played a role in reinvigorating the slow burn horror subgenre, encouraging filmmakers to embrace atmosphere and psychological complexity over fast-paced scares. The Witch from 2015, while released around the same time as The Babadook, solidified its place in the slow burn horror movement that the latter helped popularize. Directed by Robert Eggers, The Witch uses a historical setting to explore themes of isolation, guilt, and the psychological breakdown of a family, much like The Babadook explores a mother's emotional unraveling. Both films focus on building dread rather than relying on jump scares, creating a slow, creeping sense of terror. Additionally, the film's success opened doors for female-driven horror narratives. The central focus on a single mother, played by Essie Davis, navigating the grief of losing her husband and raising her son in the midst of terrifying events, helped highlight the role of women in horror cinema, particularly as complex, nuanced characters. This paved the way for more horror films with strong female protagonists, such as Raw from 2016, where the female experience is central to the story. The Witch from 2015, directed by Robert Eggers, is a defining film in modern horror due to its atmospheric tension, historical authenticity, and psychological depth. Set in 1630s New England, it explores the unraveling of a Puritan family facing the possibility of a witch haunting them. The film's slow burn approach, reliance on folklore, and focus on existential dread set it apart from traditional horror, shifting the focus from shock value to psychological horror. By immersing the audience in the oppressive isolation and religious paranoia of the time, The Witch created a uniquely unsettling experience. The film's influence lies in its emphasis on atmosphere and psychological tension over conventional scares, setting a new standard for slow burn horror. By grounding its supernatural elements in the family's internal turmoil, The Witch explored themes of faith, fear, and the human psyche, influencing filmmakers to embrace a more deliberate, immersive approach to horror. Its focus on dread, isolation, and historical context offered a fresh direction for genre filmmaking, emphasizing the terror of internal collapse rather than external threats. This approach has inspired a wave of films that share its atmospheric and psychological depth. The Lighthouse from 2019, also directed by Eggers, continues the theme of isolation and mental breakdown, using a confined setting to build the creeping dread. Midsommar from 2019, directed by Ari Aster, also channels The Witch's focus on communal rituals and psychological disintegration, exploring how belief systems can distort reality and fuel horror. Similarly, The Ritual from 2017 and The Lodge from 2019 share The Witch's slow-building tension, using isolation and psychological struggles as key components of their horror. Moving on to 2016, Damien Leone brought us Terrifier, which quickly became a groundbreaking force in modern horror due to its brutal violence, disturbing imagery, and the creation of the now iconic character Art the Clown. The film's unapologetic approach to gore, with its extreme and shocking scenes, revitalized the slasher genre and brought a new level of brutality to horror cinema. Art the Clown's grotesque appearance and sadistic, mute persona turned him into a modern horror icon, reminding audiences of the visceral terror seen in classic slashers, but with a more graphic, modern twist. Terrifier's minimalist plot and focus on gore and atmosphere helped reignite an interest in exploitation-style horror films, where shocking imagery and terror are often prioritized over traditional storytelling. One of the key ways Terrifier influenced horror was in the resurgence of extreme horror, which pushed the boundaries of on-screen violence and psychological discomfort. While films like the Poughkeepsie Tapes from 2007 and The Human Centipede 2 from 2011 and a Serbian film from 2010 helped pave the way, Terrifier brought extreme horror into the mainstream. Its shocking visuals and brutal kills, combined with its grounded, low-budget filmmaking style, proved that there was an appetite for horror films that embraced gore, violence, and the unsettling thrill of fear. The success of Art the Clown has inspired filmmakers to explore this territory further, especially within the extreme horror subgenre. Terrifier 2 from 2022 expanded upon the formula of its predecessor, taking the gore and terror to even more outrageous levels. With longer, more graphic scenes that were a direct evolution of Terrifier's shock-driven approach, the success of Terrifier 2 has made it clear that Art the Clown's reign in horror is far from over, cementing his place as a new slasher icon. This film's success has sparked a wider movement within horror toward films that embrace disturbing, over-the-top violence and practical effects. The Sadness in 2021, a Taiwanese film that combines grotesque imagery with nihilism, followed a similar path, leaning into extreme violence and psychological horror. Additionally, Terrifier 3, which came out last year, continued the terrifying journey of Art the Clown and escalating the horror to even more extreme levels. The film's success further cements Art the Clown as one of the most menacing and enduring figures in modern horror. Much like its predecessors, Terrifier 3 has once again inspired filmmakers to embrace shocking, graphic violence as a central element of horror, drawing audiences in with its relentless brutality. The continued popularity of Art the Clown strengthens the trend toward more extreme, gore-heavy slasher films, where the villain is not just a killer, but a larger-than-life monster of pure sadism, rivaling older horror icons like Michael Myers and Jason Voorhees, but with a contemporary, more shocking edge. Terrifier 4 is also being written right now, so stay tuned for that. Are you looking for horror that'll make you laugh, cry, and question your childhood? Well, look no further. We've got it all. From Winnie the Pooh turning into a bloodthirsty maniac, yes, really, to elevated horror like Hereditary that makes you scared and emotionally devastated. And the best part? You can stream it all right now. That's right! Childhood trauma, family dread, and top-tier jump scares. All in one convenient place. Now, why settle for just one nightmare when you can have the full collection? Don't miss out. Sign up today and let us redefine your idea of comfort viewing. Street Horror's golden age where nostalgia meets nightmares. Get Out from 2017, directed by Jordan Peele, is one of the most influential horror films of the 21st century due to its brilliant fusion of social commentary and psychological terror. The film explores racism and societal fears through the lens of horror, with protagonist Chris being invited to his white girlfriend's family estate, where he discovers a horrifying secret. Peele's unique approach to the genre, using horror not just to scare, but to provoke thought, redefined what horror films could achieve, making a bold statement about race, privilege, and exploitation in America. The film's masterful blend of suspense, subtle tension, and unsettling imagery created an immersive experience that was both terrifying and thought-provoking. What makes Get Out particularly groundbreaking is its ability to combine genre thrills with sharp social commentary, something that hadn't been done as effectively in mainstream horror. The film's layered storytelling, use of allegory, and atmospheric dread made it a cultural touchstone, with its subtext about race and identity resonating deeply with audiences. It elevated horror as a platform for addressing pressing social issues, making it not just a vehicle for fear, but for reflection and conversation. Get Out's success opened the door for more films to incorporate socially conscious themes within horror filmmaking. Get Out's impact can be seen in a wave of films that blend social commentary with horror. One of the most notable examples is Us from 2019, also directed by Jordan Peele, which expands on similar themes of identity, class, and societal division. Us uses a terrifying home invasion scenario to explore the tension between the haves and the have-nots, using doppelgangers as a metaphor for societal neglect and the dark side of American prosperity. Peele's signature mix of horror and thought-provoking commentary in Us builds on Get Out's foundation and further proves the genre's potential for deeper, more meaningful narratives. The influence of Get Out extends beyond Peele's own work. Films like Sorry to Bother You from 2018, directed by Boots Riley, tackle social and racial issues through a surreal, darkly comedic lens, though it uses science fiction and absurdism as its primary tools. Similarly, The Invisible Man from 2020, directed by Leigh Whannell, takes on themes of abuse and control, using the thriller and horror genres to address social issues in a personal, visceral way. Get Out's success also inspired a resurgence in the blending of genre with social themes, demonstrating that horror can transcend simple scares and explore real-world issues in innovative ways. Halloween from 2018, directed by David Gordon Green, reinvigorated the iconic slasher genre by introducing the legendary Michael Myers in a direct sequel to John Carpenter's 1978 original, ignoring the numerous sequels and reboots that had come before. The film's success lay in its ability to blend nostalgia with modern horror sensibilities, paying homage to the classic while updating it for contemporary audiences. It brought back the tension and the suspense that made the original Halloween a landmark film, while also giving the franchise a fresh, contemporary approach with a focus on Laurie Strode, played once again by Jamie Lee Curtis, who is now a survivor turned warrior, ready to confront the nightmare that had haunted her for decades. One of the film's most significant contributions to the horror genre was its return to the basics of slasher filmmaking: simple, effective scares, atmospheric dread, and a slow burn buildup of terror. By focusing on character development, especially Laurie's trauma and her strained relationship with her daughter and her granddaughter, the film humanized the slasher villain's impact on the survivors. The dynamic between Laurie and Michael Myers also emphasized the long-lasting psychological effects of trauma, elevating the film beyond the typical slasher fare. The use of practical effects, tight camera work, and minimalistic scoring in the style of Carpenter's original created a sense of dread that harkened back to horror's roots while making it feel relevant in the modern landscape. The success of Halloween 2018 helped set the stage for a resurgence of slasher films and influenced a wave of other sequels and reboots of classic franchises. Scream from 2022, for instance, brought back the meta-slasher formula, blending humor with horror while acknowledging the legacy of the original films. However, Scream followed in the footsteps of Halloween 2018 by focusing on the returning characters from the first film and introducing a new generation of horror survivors. The Halloween reboot's approach to reimagining iconic horror figures, updating them for a new generation, and bringing back the core cast of characters proved to be a successful model for legacy sequels in the genre. Halloween 2018 also influenced the way modern slasher films focus on the trauma and psychological horror behind the horror. Fear Street Part 1, 1994, back from 2021, followed a similar approach to Halloween, blending slasher tropes with a deeper focus on psychological impact of violence and trauma. Happy Death Day from 2017, while more comedic, also took inspiration from Halloween slasher roots, centering around a central protagonist who must face a masked killer while exploring deeper personal growth and resilience. These films, like Halloween 2018, emphasize characters and their psychological struggles, which adds depth to the familiar slasher formula. Host from 2020, directed by Rob Savage, is a groundbreaking horror film that redefined the possibilities of filmmaking during the COVID-19 pandemic. Shot entirely on Zoom during lockdown, the film capitalized on the widespread reliance on virtual communication while creating an incredibly eerie, suspenseful atmosphere. Its unique approach to horror, set entirely in a video call, turned a modern-day convenience into a chilling nightmare. The film's fast-paced, efficient storytelling and its ability to build tension from an ordinary, everyday activity was a refreshing take on the haunted house genre, blending the supernatural with the digital age. What makes Host so influential is its innovative use of technology to create a sense of dread. The film effectively utilizes the constraints of being filmed on a virtual meeting platform, incorporating glitchy screens, unexpected pop-up windows, and distorted audio to amplify the horror. This new approach to horror filmmaking resonated with audiences as it reflected the isolation, uncertainty, and fear of the pandemic era, tapping into a collective sense of discomfort while making the horror feel intimately personal. Host demonstrates that limitations, whether of resources or the current climate, can breed creativity and elevate a genre to new heights, inspiring filmmakers to think outside traditional production methods. Host's success paved the way for other horror films that incorporated technology or virtual spaces as central elements for their storytelling. Films like Dashcam from 2021, also directed by Rob Savage, take a similar approach to Host, combining the use of real-time footage and technology to create an immersive, in-the-moment experience that heightens tension and suspense. Similarly, Unfriended Dark Web, that came out in 2018, and Searching in 2018, already used the concept of online spaces to tell horror and thriller stories. But Host amplified these concepts in a way that resonated with the contemporary fears surrounding the digital world and online interactions. Beyond individual films, Host also inspired a broader shift in horror filmmaking toward lo-fi DIY productions that could be made under limited conditions, especially during the pandemic. This influence is evident in films like The Unquiet Grave from 2020 and The Beta Test from 2021, which incorporated minimalist approaches, leveraging psychological tension and atmosphere over big budget effects. The success of Host also encouraged more horror films to embrace the use of technology as a vehicle for fear, with films like Spree from 2020 further exploring social media and digital spaces as a reflection of modern anxieties. Dashcam from 2021, directed by Rob Savage, is a bold, high-energy found footage horror film that takes a unique, daring approach to storytelling. Built around a live-streamed road trip, the film follows a chaotic, defiant protagonist who streams her adventures in real time, only to find herself caught in a terrifying, supernatural nightmare. The film's raw, unfiltered style, using handheld cameras and a found footage format, ramps up the sense of realism and immediacy, making the horror feel deeply personal and unpredictable. Dashcam stands out for its relentless pace, embracing a chaotic, almost anarchic energy that keeps the audience on edge, while expertly blending technology, social media, and horror. Now, what makes Dashcam influential is its unapologetic take on horror, mixing dark comedy with shocking terror. The film's central character, who is difficult to empathize with, allows for a fresh and subversive approach, breaking the typical mold of sympathetic protagonists in horror films. The use of a live stream format not only gives the film a sense of urgency and immediacy, but also makes it feel like a reflection of modern digital culture, where self-presentation, online personas, and voyeurism collide with terror. Dashcam's success demonstrated that the found footage subgenre could evolve beyond its previous limitations, embracing new technology and pushing boundaries in both style and tone. The film's combination of social media and found footage horror inspired a new wave of films that similarly integrate digital technology into their narratives. Unfriended Dark Web from 2018, for example, used the format of a computer screen to tell a horror story, and Cam from 2018 explored the dangers of digital identity and privacy. Dashcam, however, takes this idea further, incorporating live streaming and the chaotic nature of modern online culture, which has inspired a shift in how horror can reflect the anxieties and experiences of the digital age. The film also influenced other projects to adopt the found footage genre, but with more modern, dynamic twists. Additionally, Dashcam helped spark a resurgence in the popularity of the real-time horror experience, where the tension is built not only through supernatural threats, but also the immediacy of the events unfolding. Host, as previously mentioned, pioneered this style, and Dashcam further proved that there's an audience for horror films that thrive on real-time action and direct engagement with modern technology. This emphasis on real-time storytelling and live-streamed events brought a new sense of immersion to horror, demonstrating that modern digital tools could be used to heighten tension and create new types of scares. Our final film, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey from 2023. This film quickly became a standout in the horror genre for its audacious reimagining of A.A. Milne's beloved characters as vicious, bloodthirsty killers. Pooh and Piglet's murderous rampage after being abandoned by Christopher Robin shocked audiences and introduced a unique twist, combining childhood nostalgia with brutal slasher horror. This unexpected shift from a family-friendly children's story to a violent horror narrative resonated with viewers and tapped into the larger trend of dark reimaginings of popular characters. It demonstrated the creative potential of public domain properties, allowing filmmakers to take well-known figures in a completely unexpected and terrifying direction. Now, what makes Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey especially influential is the way it ignited curiosity and excitement around the gritty reboots of public domain characters. The film's success led to a trend of transforming other beloved childhood icons into horror figures, with filmmakers now eager to explore how classic tales can be twisted into darker, more sinister versions, albeit not as good. Blood and Honey became a key part of the growing horror parody genre, which takes familiar stories and genres and flips them into something grotesque, subverting expectations and pushing the boundaries of genre conventions. This unique combination of nostalgia, humor, and violence gave rise to a new wave of horror filmmaking, where childhood characters aren't just innocent, they can also be monstrous. The success of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey sparked a surge of other films within what's now known as the Twisted Childhood Universe, or TCU for short. Following its release, Blood and Honey 2 from 2024 expanded on the narrative, diving deeper into the terrifying world of these reimagined characters. Peter Pan's Neverland Nightmare, released earlier this year in January, twisted the classic Peter Pan story into a bloody, menacing tale of survival, while Bambi: The Reckoning, rumored to be sometime in March, further explored the idea of childhood characters taking on brutal, horrifying roles. This interconnected universe is growing rapidly, with more films slated to join the fold, including Pinocchio Unstrung, coming out later this year, all of which build toward the highly anticipated Pooniverse Monsters Assemble, which is slated for 2026, a massive crossover event. The Twisted Childhood universe has quickly turned into a cinematic phenomenon, exploring the potential of public domain characters in a new, dark context. The success of these films has sparked discussions about the flexibility of intellectual property, showing how familiar characters can be reimagined to reflect contemporary horror and social commentary. The growing popularity of these twisted childhood tales has influenced a range of independent filmmakers, inspiring them to take familiar stories and characters in bold, horrifying directions. Fans and filmmakers alike are now looking to see how far this trend will go, and just how many childhood icons can be reinterpreted for modern horror. In addition to the impact on the horror genre, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and its sequels have sparked a unique wave of behind-the-scenes discussions and interviews, particularly within the Twisted Childhood universe. Now, on my channel, personally, I've had the opportunity to talk with some of the actors involved in the TCU films, diving into their experiences, bringing these infamous, reimagined characters to life. The films within this universe are not only reshaping classic tales, but they're also creating a vibrant community of filmmakers and actors who are pushing the boundaries of horror. And there it is, the end of our 5-part journey through horror. But don't be fooled. You might think you're safe, but the darkness is never far behind. What you've seen, what we've uncovered, was only a taste of the true terror lurking beneath the surface. The horror? Well, it never really ends. Thank you for attending this history lesson, for watching as we unearthed films that shaped nightmares for decades. But remember, just when you think you've escaped, the terror always finds a way back.
You can't escape.
Like this video if you dare to face whatever's next. Subscribe if you want the nightmares to follow, and hit that bell because something is always watching.